So yesterday was a very successful day. I was able to change my driving license over from a UK driving license to an Ontario driving license. And I'm going to use this video to try and explain to you how easy and simple that was. Basically, for context, I moved from the UK to Canada here in Ontario about a month ago. I believe you can drive on a UK license in Ontario at least for 6 months, I think it is, without having to do anything to change your license. You can buy a car, you can have insurance on said car, and you can drive around Ontario for 6 months. Not sure on other provinces, obviously, things may be different. Also not sure if that just applies to UK people or from any other country coming over. Obviously, the agreement between the UK and Canada is as such, may differ for other countries, so just check the fine print on that one. But if you do have a UK license, it is very simple to get your license changed. All you have to do is visit your local drive test centre, not Service Ontario, which is where you may think you may need to go. They seem to deal with a lot of the health card requirements for the province and other government type things. Drive test centre seem to deal with the issuing of new licenses. So if you were a learner driver here and you were taking a test, that is the same place you would go if you were sort of 17 and you were learning to drive. And because my license is a brand new license in terms of Ontario, I had to go there. So I took my UK license with me. What I did not realise is that I also needed to take my passport. It does not say that on the website. So that was helpful. I had read the website multiple times. It definitely does not say anything about bringing your passport or a second form of ID, which makes a lot of sense. I should have just brought it anyway. I don't know why I didn't. I just assumed that my driving license would be fine. So my friend was very nice and brought me back home so I could actually pick up my passport. They have a little ticket machine at the front, so you take a ticket and you get called up by the number of your ticket. Very straightforward. I thought they'd give me a form to fill out. I'd go sit down there, I'd wait another 20 minutes, but it was all done sort of while you stood there at the counter. They asked for your license, they photocopied it. Be prepared to say goodbye to your license at that point. You do not get it back. I did take a photo of mine on my phone just in case I need, I don't know, my UK driving license number for anything in the future. I'm not sure if I ever will. But yeah, you don't get it back. They keep that, and I assume they destroy them at some point. It's obviously not valid. So you make sure you've said all your goodbyes and you're prepared not to have that as a form of ID, because obviously it does have your date of birth on. So it is my main form of ID. So now I'll have to carry my passport around, possibly for a little while. Fine. All he asked me if I wore glasses or contact lenses, which I do, not just for driving purposes. I wear them all the time. I can't function as a human being without some sort of sight correction. So he then asked me to look into what looked like a sort of pair of binoculars on the counter. There was a 6-digit number, I think, sort of at the bottom, and he asked you just to read the numbers. They were small, but they weren't super small. Like, it was a fairly straightforward sight test. Then he said there was going to be some lights, and it was not bright lights, more like a indicator, sort of want this side or this side, and he would switch it, and you had to say whether it was on the left side or the right side as you were looking at it. Did about 8 of those, and then he was happy with that. I think your sight would have to be pretty bad to not pass that kind of thing, even if you do wear glasses specifically for driving. And all that means is I have I don't know if it's a letter or a symbol somewhere on my license that says that I have to have this sight correction when I'm driving, otherwise it's illegal or not valid for me to drive, which I always will. I can't get out the house without glasses or contact lenses, so that will never happen. What else did he ask me? He asked for my address. Funny story, I gave him my address on the little piece of paper he asked me to write it down on, and he told me that he lived here last year. He lived actually upstairs We live in downstairs, but we had a laugh about that. That was quite funny. Of all the people in the town, I meet the guy that used to live upstairs. Very bizarre. And that was pretty much it. I had to pay $90 Canadian for the privilege of having a license. I did get what they call a full G license here, which is basically no restrictions. I didn't have to prove any previous driving experience from back home. I didn't have to take any written test or practical test. I didn't have to show any other thing to do with my driving experience at all, which was great for me. Obviously, other countries this may differ. There were a lot of people in the test centre that seemed to be new to Canada that were waiting for tests. Just bear in mind that there's different rules for every country, and especially with these, they have like a G1, G2 license, which is still for cars, but I think it's aimed more at the younger learners. But obviously it may apply if you are new to Canada and you haven't taken the proper tests yet. There's certain restrictions on driving at certain times of day, the amount of passengers you're allowed to carry, all that kind of thing. Kind of makes sense if you're learning. Maybe a little bit frustrating if you have been driving for a while and these are new things you have to adhere to. So they did give me a little temporary license. Obviously I'm not going to show you what's on it, but it's basically just all my address, that it says it's a Class G license. It has got my date of birth on there, and it says it expires in 3 months, so it's good for 90 days, just this temporary license. The photo card is going to come in the mail, so that's fine. And then I can just have that for as long as I need to, which is great. They did take a photo of me as well while I was there and asked how tall I was, which I'm not sure what impact that has on driving, but there you go. So that's what they asked me. In my opinion, that was relatively simple and straightforward. Did have to wait a little bit of time to be seen at the drive test centre. I can imagine those kind of places get quite busy. I brought a drink with me, just be prepared to sit it out. But once it's done, it's done. You don't have to go there again. And fairly straightforward. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense to everybody. If you have any questions, you feel free to comment underneath. I will try and answer them as best I can. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.